Welcome back to the Leonard Soapbox. We are in a new location, a new studio.
I like it.
And we have Jackie Hurtis back on the podcast. Jackie, what's the best thing you learned this week?
Best thing I learned this week? Termites don't have to kill your deal.
Oh, that's a good one. Termites do pop up a lot in transactions. And they don't always, they sound a lot scarier. And you see like those commercials that are like the termites destroying the house or whatever. So what we wanted to talk about today on the podcast, Jackie, claps up for Jackie. Jackie's buying a house in Center Hill. Yep. So for the first time when's the last time you bought a house?
2020.
So since 2020, you've only been on the mortgage side of purchasing a house. So what we thought would be really fun is to talk through some of the things you're learning while you're going through the process, because you have this brand new lens of actually being the client. So we wanted to talk through a little bit about the deal and things you learned, all that kind of stuff. So obviously termites came up. So talk to us a little bit about the deal, what made you jump into it, and how it's going.
I've been casually looking for like the last year or two, but I was all over the place. Like I had an agent in, my agents who are helping me here connected me to somebody in Chattanooga. I was looking for a place in Chattanooga for a while. I was looking for a place in Minneapolis for a while. I wanted a second place because I've seen what real estate has done for my family. So I knew I wanted a second place, but I was torn on, am I doing a second home? Am I doing another primary and renting out my current? I was open to options. And then an agent posted the house that I'm under contract for on Instagram as like a pocket listing back at the very beginning of April. And I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's a badass cabin. I love that. Looked at it, looked at the numbers, and I was like, ooh, that payment's really high. Like, forget it, moved on. And then 3 months later, I was looking at the check that I had coming in, and I was like, what could I do with this? Like, I could keep investing it in the stock market stuff like I normally do, but this is a good size check. Like, I could do something with it. And I was like, let's just see if that cabin is still on the market. And sure enough, it was. And I just closed, so I'm working with the agent team that refers me the most business, or who I worked with for the buy side. One of them had just closed on their personal house. They got like $65,000 off list price and like 6% in seller credits for a buy-down and everything. So I was like, I know that I can get a deal in this market. Mm-hmm. So this house has been listed for 3 months. Let's just see what happens. Let's go look at it. Let's put it in an offer and see what happens. If the numbers work, if they're cool and they're willing to negotiate with me, let's do it. It was listed at $975 originally. We ended up I'm under contract for $900. They're giving some help with closing costs, and life is good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
So when you were looking at the deal, were you more focused on the price? Because obviously $75K off the price is quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So were you more focused on the price or how much concessions you were getting? Like, what were you mostly focused on?
Price. I'll admit, I had a mental block in my head. Like, I cannot go over $900,000. Mm-hmm. Even though like you and I both know a $10,000 difference on that is nothing.
Is that because of the payment, or you're just like in your soul?
In my like mentally, I was like, I just refuse. I can't go above 900,000. It's like, because this is a second home. I don't need this house. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I'd been slowly looking, like nothing serious. And then this popped up. And then I started thinking, wait, I'm like paying so much in taxes. So I talked to a CPA, and he's like, honestly, it's really hard to write things off as a W-2 person. But I know that real estate is one of those options. And the bill that just passed, they now confirmed that you can write off taxes, property taxes, mortgage interest on up to, I think it's $750,000 worth of mortgages.
Wow.
So the tax write-off will be huge. So I'm like, I can Airbnb it. Between the Airbnb should offset the mortgage payment completely.
Wow.
Should. If it doesn't, I'm like, that's okay. I am also using it as a second home. Mm-hmm. So if it can offset half of it, it's still a win. I'm getting a cabin for half of what the cost is, right?
Yeah.
So I'll Airbnb it. I'm getting a property manager. I'm not dealing with that. And then the write-off will be huge.
What's the property manager charging you?
17.5%.
Wow. Oh, because it's Airbnb.
Yep.
So it's a lot more hands-on. They got to do the
and that was
Airbnb.
Actually, most of them were around 20%. I think I talked to like 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
They range from like 15 to 20%.
So what kind of other emotions or stressors did you feel? Because it's very easy for us. We're very analytical when we talk to our clients. It's all numbers. It's all very just matter of fact. And I think a lot of times in the mortgage land, we remove emotion from it. But emotion's like a huge part of these people's purchase. So being on the other side, what emotions did you feel that registered in your head where you're like, damn, I even know what's going on and I'm still feeling this way?
It's crazy. It's made me so much more empathetic to clients right now. Like I had a first-time home buyer who just closed today, and he was so nervous throughout. And I could absolutely relate to him now that I'm going through it again. But when we're removed from it, like you said, I haven't bought in 5 years. It's desensitized. We're desensitized to it.
Right.
I was definitely nervous. The wire is what freaked me out the most.
Sure. Absolutely.
I was up at night like, oh my God, I'm going to have to send this gigantic wire. What if I send it to the wrong place?
Yep.
So I talked to my title attorney. I was like, I'm writing you a check. So I gave him a check 2 weeks ahead of closing.
Yeah, wires are pretty wild. I mean, like, it's still very archaic the way that they do it. There is just an address that it's like a numbered address. You take it to your bank and you say, I want you to wire, let's say 100,000 to this place, and they said, okay, it's gone.
Yeah, and
you're
if
like,
you're
have
one
they
number off,
received it yet? No. Yeah, there's no wire. There's no confirmation. There's no insurance on it. It's very, very scary. What about like before you purchased? So when you were doing the searching, when you were looking for places,
I wasn't really looking, right?
Yeah.
So this one just happened to come up, and so we put in an offer, and then I was like, shoot. Do I have buyer's remorse? Because I didn't look around at all.
Yeah.
Like, and I can be impulsive. So I was like, did I just make a massive mistake because I didn't look at anything else? But then like, well, I can't look at anything else now because I can't fall in love with something. I'm under contract for this one. Mm-hmm. So I had that thought. And then I went and looked at it on a Thursday, and I was heading out of town for 4th of July for that next 10 days. So I put an offer Thursday night. I'm at Morgan Wallen drinking with my friends in Madison Saturday, and we're like countering. So I'm like drinking and like countering on like closing costs and everything. So it just happened so fast. And I didn't do any of the pre-approval stuff ahead of time. Like I ran the numbers ahead of time, so I knew that I was going to be fine. But I hadn't actually like sat down and looked out, okay, what if I ask for 900 and closing costs, or I go to 920, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what are my different options? So I was doing that Thursday night while I'm supposed to be packing and all of that. So I'm like, classic. Like I tell everybody to do this ahead of time, and here I am uploading my pay stubs and stuff the night that I'm writing an offer.
Yeah.
And then there's just like so much that you don't even think to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So we're writing the offer, and my mom's like, who owns the lot in front of you where I have the lake view? She's like, who owns the lot in front of you? What if they build? And I'm like, Mom, don't, like, I'm so excited. I'm like, now you're bringing up deal killers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that way a lot of times too, because I'm just like, don't bring that up. Like, don't put that in the world. But then you're like, I probably should be asking these questions.
Oh,
so the lot in front of you, what other questions like came up where you're like, oh, I probably should have asked that?
HOA. So it has a small HOA. Like, what does the HOA cover? There's no garage on it. Long term, if I wanted to go there, I would want a garage. Mm-hmm. So what does the HOA allow, and where can I put the garage? Mm-hmm. Things that I never even thought of.
Yeah, you're operating from like, I will figure it out later.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah. But you're like, it's a cool house.
Yeah. I like that the master bathroom is badass. I have to have this house, and I'm gonna figure everything else out.
Sure.
And mom and dad are like, and I also called my parents, like, cardinal rule that we all hate. Yeah. But I'm like, I got to talk to my parents about this. This is a massive purchase. I know more about the process than they do, but I'm like calling my parents, right?
Just Can you talk a little bit about why that's a cardinal rule? Because like it is like, you know, the meme culture and all that is like the parents get involved.
Yeah.
But sometimes clients are looking for like either validation or like a hole or something like that. What kind of like, it's a real testament to what the market is doing right now, because there are so many houses on the market relative to the amount of buyers. Mm-hmm. Like even raw numbers, there's as far as how many houses are actually on the market, it's not like it's drastically higher than what it was pre-COVID, but the amount of buyers is much less right now than it was.
Yep.
So I do recognize that there are a lot of clients, realtors will say like they're being picky, but really, in reality, it's like they have too many options when they're starting to look at houses. It's probably pretty easy to be like, ooh, maybe I should just wait and see if something better comes up.
Yeah, 100%.
So how did you get through that outside of your impulsivity?
A lot of it is because I was just impulsive, right? I had my heart set on this exact house. So we went and looked at this cabin that I'd seen on Instagram 3 months ago. And while we were up there, they were like, hey, let's look at the other. There were 2 or 3 that were listed right on that same street that were cheaper. So mine was listed at $950. There was one at like $875 and another one for low 800s maybe. But I, in my mind, was set on this house. So we looked at mine first, and then we went and looked at the one for $875, and it had a much better view than mine.
Okay.
And the girls were like, oh, this is cute. This is cool. This is badass. And I was like, stop, you guys. Like, I'd already sold myself on the other one. And they're like, and then like, shit, Jackie, you're looking for an escape. That's what the A-frame has. The other cabin that we looked at was like massive, wide open, but it was more like a house. And it had a big yard. So that was like if people wanted to rent it to party. And mine is like you want to rent it and have a couple couples there and drinks on the deck and chill in the hot tub.
Yeah.
So
Which is probably more your vibe.
1,000%. So it's like I would rent, I'm thinking like when I look at Airbnbs now, I'm renting the A-frame. But if I had a group of 20 people and I was going to go party, I'd rent the other cabin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, as now a landlord, I don't want 20 people partying in my house.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
let's go with the A-frame.
Yeah. So you go under contract, you're at Morgan Wallen, you go under contract. Typically in the mortgage process, what happens is once you go under contract, you get your interest rate locked in. Interest rates move every day, sometimes multiple times a day. So did you lock your interest rate in on the day you went under contract?
Right away.
Really? Did you second guess that decision at all?
No.
Why?
Because I knew what the payment was, and I'm like, I know I'm comfortable with this payment. If it goes down an eighth, we're talking $50 a month maybe.
Right.
If it goes up an eighth, I'm going to be pissed at myself.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that is lost on a lot of clients because they're always focused on what is the interest rate, and instead of having some sort of certainty. So like 9 times out of 10, I advise buyers, you really should lock your interest rate in. What that does is lock it during the period that you're under contract. And then obviously it's a fixed mortgage rate 9 times out of 10. It's a fixed mortgage rate when you close on the house. So it allows you to know even during the process what your payment, what your cash is, all of that kind of stuff without anything moving on you. Even if things move in a positive direction, like you said, 1/8% is not going to move your payment up and down all that much. Okay, so you're in the process. You have your interest rate locked. You do an inspection.
Inspection goes well. I met the inspector out there for the last part of it. He went through everything that was wrong with the house. Nothing was major, but there was some water coming in the crawl space that caused like a fungal situation on the walls just because they hadn't sealed the tubing on the outside. He's like, easy fix. There was a bunch of wood in the crawl space. He's like, this is breeding grounds for termites. While we were there, the girls were like, oh, when's the termite guy coming out? And he's like, oh, I haven't ordered one yet. So like in my head, I was almost like, oh, do we really need a termite inspection? Yep. And they're like, yes, you do. But so originally I actually had thought about doing this without an agent. I called the listing agent. She was not helpful. And I was like, I cannot do this without a buyer's agent. So thank God I did, because I probably would have just foregone the termite inspection. Termite guy went out last Wednesday, and then they called me like, Jackie, it has termites. They're up to the second floor. And I'm like, what the hell does this mean? We don't have termites in Minnesota. Like, we don't have wood destroying insects in Minnesota. So I called Dad, and I'm calling like everybody that I know at this point. I'm calling my mentor, who is an agent at Old South. So very much in the new construction world, building world. I talked to a builder friend of mine, and they're all like, termites are not the end of the world. Just make sure that there's no structural damage. So we sent out a structural engineer this weekend. He said it's fine. So they're doing the treatment and we're fine.
That's great.
Yeah. But it's terrifying, right?
Totally.
When that comes up. Other things that I noticed about...
If you had to give advice, so most clients aren't as interconnected in the real estate world as somebody who's in it and does it every single day. So if you had a client who was in that situation, they found out they have termites. Maybe their dad also doesn't know anything about real estate. How would you recommend them getting opinions or getting advice on how
That's what your realtor is there for, right? So that's what I've realized going through this again. Do I know the contract? Yes. You and I look at contracts all day long. But we don't deal with inspections, right? So your agent is there not only to help with their professional opinions, but you have access to their whole Rolodex of people. So they're calling all of their people. They're calling I use their preferred inspector, right? They got me in touch with a structural engineer. So you have all of those people at your fingertips through your agent.
Right.
When you're doing it by yourself, you don't have that same access.
Yeah. So you really have to lean on your agent, which is also a testament of why it's so important to get an agent. Because if you don't, you're leaning on whatever your professional network is. If you don't have those connections, or you're probably going to Google and just typing in best termite inspector.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
that would have been my next step. And like, so now there's small things coming up, like they have to insulate or whatever the tubing on the outside of the house to prevent the water from coming in. I don't know. I don't have a person to go do that, but my agents do. Right? I didn't know what property manager to use, but they put me in touch with like 3 or 4. They've done so much legwork for me that it's like a no-brainer to me now that I can use an agent all day long, because all this stuff came up. And if I was doing this by myself, I'd been like, what's my next step while trying to work? Like, I'm trying to find a handyman. I'm trying to find a property manager. I'm trying to find a termite person. I'm trying to find a home inspector. They're doing all that stuff for me. It's a full-time job. Yeah.
It's a full-time job. And, especially when you're on the buy side, it's a full-time job when you can just get the seller to pay for the agent.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit different once you start getting into like the listing world. Obviously agents are going to do a lot on the listing side, but it does directly affect how much cash it's going to cost you. But when you're on the buyer side, it's really a no-brainer to have an agent present with you, because not only do they represent you, they can also take care of a lot of that stuff. Like, that's what their day-to-day job is.
And people think that they're going to get a deal by not using a buyer's agent. I'm like, how do I even know what to offer on this? I have no idea. I can't run comps. Am I going to pay an appraiser to go out and do a report for me? Can I even do that if I don't have an offer on the house?
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, I need to use an agent for this. I don't even know what's realistic for me to go in at. I just have this number in my head, but is that what the comps say that the house is worth? So agent all day, invaluable. You absolutely should use one.
What was the most annoying part about the process?
All the inspection stuff that we just completely forget about on the mortgage side, right? When an inspection happens almost all the time on our end, but I'm like, don't tell me. Like, I don't want to know any problems with the house, and I'm like, I want to know every single issue. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, the documents and stuff were so easy because I knew exactly what documents we were going to need.
But if you were looking at it from the lens of a normal buyer, is this also, it's probably also a testament of why getting it done early is way easier, because there's so much that goes into purchasing a house that buyers may be unaware of, or it just kind of all comes at once, and you have this deadline of usually about 30 days.
Yeah.
So if you get a true, clean, full pre-approval done up front, a lot of the mortgage side is taken care of before you start messing with every other party that's involved, like insurance, inspectors, termite people. Like, if you can get front load a lot of the mortgage stuff when you're just sitting on your couch watching Love Island, like, and just do your pre-approval, it helps you so much more when the time comes where you're actually dealing with all those, because you don't also have me or you calling them like, hey, I need this, this, and this.
1000%. Like I said, it was Thursday night. I'm going out of town Friday. I have to pack. I have to do laundry. We're trying to submit the offer, and I'm uploading all my documents. And then I'm like realizing, shoot, I still bank with my small bank back in Minnesota. And I'm like, I don't even know if I can send a wire from here. Yep. I might have to be in person for this. Yep. So then I'm like trying to figure, and I'm like moving money from my investment account to my bank. How long is that going to take? Can I wire it straight from my investment account? And so all of that stuff, like getting it squared away on the front end so that you're good to go. That's
actually so important for clients to understand, because there have been transactions I've been a part of where the client was coming down from New York. They work for, they have their money at a small regional bank in New York. We get all the way to probably a week out, and I told him multiple times to call his bank, make sure he can wire the money, because a lot of these regional banks, small banks, will not wire money.
Yep.
If they don't wire money, you have to be there to wire. So you're talking a flight to small town New York to go wire the money. That, on top of moving and all of this other stuff that we're talking about, like, you have to have your ducks in a row as far as where's your money, where's it going, and getting all of that done on the front end. Like, it just saves you an infinite amount of time.
Yeah, that was honestly my biggest stressor, was like getting the money to title in time.
Yeah. Well, let us know how the rest of the stuff goes. You're closing when?
Next Thursday.
Are we clear to close?
We're gonna be. Yeah. We're gonna be. A lot of people don't realize that we can't close in our names either. And I don't know if that's a law or if it's just mortgage companies, but like the girls were surprised that I wasn't doing my own loan, and I'm like, they don't let us do that.
Yeah, you can't lend on your own house. You have to get somebody else. Do you want to tell us who you're closing with? That's not Guild.
I will say I'm doing an ARM.
Wow. I actually have had a lot of clients do ARMs that are buying jumbo. So if you don't know what it is, an ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. It sounds a lot scarier than it is. Typically, an adjustable rate means that it is fixed for the first 5 or 7 years of the loan. And then every 6 months after that fixed period is going to adjust based on something that's called the SOFR rate, SOFR, Secured Overnight Financing Rate. And it adjusts, but you do have this long period of time. So what was your reasoning on doing an ARM?
Second home pricing sucks. Have you looked at you've looked at second home pricing. So since I can't do the loan myself, I obviously looked up our pricing, saw what Guild Corporate could do. And then you and I have a couple friends in the business who are at other mortgage companies or banks. So I looked to see what their fixed pricing was as well. Because I'm like, if I can't do it myself anyway, I'll throw it to a buddy instead of going through corporate. And everyone was at 7.5 without points on a second home. On this ARM product, I'm at 675.
Yep.
So I'm like, on this loan amount, it was like $1,000 difference.
Yeah. And the reason for that is a lot of times they call it a teaser rate, but it's a teaser rate for a long period of time. So you have a lower interest rate than you would on a fixed mortgage for the first 5 or 7 years of the loan. So you get a lower rate up front, but the downside is that it's going to adjust, and it will adjust based on where rates are when it adjusts. Obviously, we don't know where rates are going to be in 5 years, so we don't know what's going to happen. But you do also have the option to refinance at any point. So if rates go down at all, you can always look to refinance into a fixed rate. One catch, though, is that you can really only do these ARMs if you're purchasing a house around $1 million and you're doing a jumbo loan. If you're doing a conventional loan, which is every normal loan, it's any loan that's less than $806,000. The loan amount, not purchase price, but your loan's less than 806, you're doing a conventional loan. The conventional ARMs are the rates are terrible. So it's really just if you're buying something on the higher end where it can make sense.
Second home versus primary residence.
Yeah.
Like primary residence, would I have done an ARM? I don't think the difference would not have been as drastic in pricing as it was on a second home.
But even like the jumbo primaries, I've had a lot of
big
clients
difference?
Purchase them. Yeah. So like, I had a client lock in a adjustable rate primary at 6.25 with no points.
Dang.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep. They're way better. And they're great options too, because it's not guaranteed that it's going to adjust. Again, it adjusts based on where the market is. So obviously we don't know where that's going to be, but this client was selling a couple of houses. He will have the cash if for some reason rates skyrocket, he can take care of it. You have to have some caveats and, some security blankets, but it's worth looking at.
Definitely worth exploring. That is one thing. People are freaked out by the word ARM now because of the housing crash.
Yeah.
But when you're putting 20% down, you like worst case, prices drop a little bit. I'll still have some equity in there to refinance. If you're putting bare bones down, ARM probably isn't the best option for you.
Yeah. Also, ARMs got rolled into 2008 and what happened with 2008, but really there were other products that were going on that caused problems in 2008. A great example is a payment option ARM is what it was called. So basically it doesn't exist anymore, thank God. But it was a loan where you could choose what you wanted your monthly payment to be. So they had your normal payment, which is like a fully amortized, which means that if you made your payment for 30 years, you don't have a loan at the end of it. That was option 1. Option 2 was an interest only. So you only pay the interest on the loan. So you never actually pay down your principal. So your payment's way less, but you never pay down your principal. And at the end of 30 years, you owe the exact same that you did when you started. And then option 3 was actually called a negative amortizing payment. So you had a extremely low payment, but you actually weren't paying enough to cover the interest on the loan. So they would add the interest to your principal balance every single month that you did that. So you had a great monthly payment, but at the end of, let's say, 5 years, you actually were underwater on your house because you weren't making enough of your monthly payment. So those are the products that happened in 2008, not regular ARMs.
Yeah, there's definitely a place in today's market to use an ARM.
Yeah. The other reason ARMs kind of evaporated was because of the zero interest rate period. So post, let's say 2018 to 2020, rates were so low that it didn't make sense to do an ARM because you could get a fixed interest rate at 2.5%. You could get an ARM at 2.3. Why would you bring in any risk if your rate's already 2.5%? Yeah. So now they're coming back into the fold, and I don't think that that's necessarily a terrible thing.
No. Yeah. You have to know what the risks are, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm in it, so I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. Just be knowledgeable. What's the worst case scenario? What does that look like? Can I handle that?
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens over the next 5 years. Obviously, I'm looking at the market every day, so I'm going to know when it's time to refinance. But yeah, it's a great option for people.
Yeah. So speaking of the market, as we wrap up, we have probably about 5 minutes, but as we wrap up, what have you been seeing in the Nashville market? And what are your clients seeing as far as
more of the
purchases?
Same? Buyers are winning right now. There's so much more inventory than what we've had in the since COVID, really. Mm-hmm. So they have their pick of the litter, basically. And if you're going after a house, there are definitely still homes that are getting multiple offers. The cutie house in East Nashville that's priced right will still get multiple offers, right? Because a dream home is everybody's dream home to some extent. But if you are strategic, and I would just say get your ducks in a row, get pre-approved first, be on the lookout. If you're going after homes that have been on the market a while, you just have so much more negotiating power.
Yeah.
And people who are selling right now have to sell.
Yep. Yeah, I would say for the clients that I'm talking to now, they have more leverage than ever. Like if you've ever been on the sidelines and you've wanted to buy, I feel like we've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 months, but it is true that we have this window where you can get as much cash as you want. So especially if you're a client who's low on cash, now is better than ever to purchase something, because I mean, I had a contract. They're purchasing something for $1.3 million in East Nashville, and they got $40,000 of credits from a seller. $40,000. That paid for all of their closing costs. It paid for multiple discount points to get a lower rate, and the only thing they're bringing is their down payment.
Yeah, it's
and that's not unrealistic. I have clients on the other end that are buying something at $420,000, and they're only bringing their down payment, and that doesn't exist in a market where rates are lower and there's more buyers. So it's very advantageous if you've been on the sidelines and wanting, and your limit is cash, not monthly payment, but cash.
Yeah. Now is the time to do it. It's a no-brainer. Like, I'm so happy that rates are at where they are right now, because if they were in the fives, the house that I'm under contract for would have gone for $1 million.
Yeah.
And I'm getting it for $900 with credit, right? That wouldn't happen if rates were lower.
Yeah.
So I'm totally fine biting the bullet and having a little bit higher payment for right now, because I know long-term it'll pay off. I have a client right now. The house was listed in North Nashville for $1 million. She got it for $900,000 and is getting 6% from the seller. And she's using it to do a permanent rate buy down into the fives.
6% seller credit.
6% seller credit. They're paying 3% to the buyer's agent and $100,000 off their original list price. It's bananas.
Yeah, it really is. And I have almost every client that's under contract. Actually, every client that's under contract that I'm working with has credits.
Yeah.
Every single one.
And there's so many different ways to manipulate it. Maybe you go higher on list price to get a bigger credit. For a temporary buy down, or you get all your closing costs covered, or you just want to see how far you can get off of list price. There's so many different ways to structure it depending on what your goals are. Yeah.
Are there any other parting thoughts that you have for anybody listening, your clients, the listing agent that you don't like?
What would be my parting thoughts? Just look into it. Like, truly, I had looked at this. I saw this house 3 months ago and thought it was not feasible. And now I'm realizing, like I can Airbnb this and it'll at least offset the payment. So talk to a lender. If you're curious about what it looks like to buy your first home, if you're curious about what it looks like to rent out your current place and go buy another one, you have so many options, and it's more feasible than I think a lot of people realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In other news, we do have some exciting news. We are rolling out a new podcast. I guess I'm going to call it a podcast, but it's going to be called the Nashville Brief, and it's going to be once a week, and it's going to be Nashville news, Nashville specific news, specifically centered around like commercial real estate, residential real estate, and like what's going on in your neighborhoods. So those will be rolling out soon, and I'm stoked.
Hell yeah.
Really, really fun. Yeah. And they're going to be quick 15-minute shots. Like, they're not going to be long episodes. It's going to be like a quick on your commute to work, or like walking to the coffee shop or something like that. 15 minutes of here's probably something that's cool that's going on in Nashville. So
I love that.
It won't be like pop culture or like country music. It's going to be like, this is what they're developing in this area and what's going on in your neighborhoods.
That'll keep you busy.
Yes. Should be fun.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming. Jackie Hurtis, your mortgage lender.
Later, guys.
Nice.
Crushed it.
This one.
Who do you think I went with?